Hi there, this is John and Annette,
Hi.
my lovely wife. Pastor Kyle and Tina has invited us in to discuss the grace is the pace. So what we'd like to do is just give you a little bit of a tidbit of our background and how we discovered the Lord in the past. And it's been for us, it's an incredible journey, and as it would be for a lot of other people. So we've had this opportunity to be able to discuss this with you personally. So Annette, we've been married for some time now, and I know you all know the exact days. But where do you think that we all started together? Where we both started?
I'm pretty sure it was close to being March 1973 when we first met.
That's a long time ago.
It sure was.
Yeah.
But I think we met in 72 somehow.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I can remember still.
Wow, that time has just
that's
moved.
it has.
Yeah.
But I guess, back in 73, things clicked a little bit differently then. And, so we won't go into the 70s because there's just too much to tell. And then from then on, 2 years later, we got married in 1975. So that was the time, that's our life started together as a married couple.
And that's where I think we started being blessed together. So, 45 years that we've been bonded together, and we've had an incredible journey through that period of time, and we've had all our ups and we've had all our downs.
We sure have.
And it's funny because I think what we've experienced with our downs as well as our ups, I always had that feeling that the Lord was always beside us all the way through. In fact, remember I even mentioned to you in the early days that I always thought it was my grandfather. And he was guiding me, even though he'd passed away.
Yeah.
And, when I look at that and I think, wow, it's an incredible journey just on that. So he's guided us both. I think he's guided us more, for me, on the business side of things. And that's being behind us there, supporting that for us as well. So, and that is an incredible journey on its own as well.
So I know that, yes, you shared that. You had always had a feeling that it was your grandfather, but we know now that it was Jesus that was there, holding our hands all the way through. And I guess for us, we had gone down that road where we were both brought up in a Christian family. And then things happened and, we lose ourselves and then we find ourselves again. And I think probably the best part of this is knowing that all along that we had Jesus there. And we always believed that it came back to Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost. So for me, that's where my journey started, where I actually woke up to myself and thought, it's not just God. It is God the Father, the Son and the Holy Ghost. And I guess 4 years ago when we can really say that our journey started where we were born again. I mean, we were born again 3 years ago, but really came back to the path of following Jesus.
So even before the 4 years ago, I remember, you were searching, you were studying, you were reading, you were basically misinformed a lot when you were at school, or it was becoming more conflict and you didn't have a really good understanding.
I think it was more about I didn't know how to have a relationship with Jesus.
Yeah.
I really did not know. I think that's something that anyone who has been brought up in a Christian family, not everyone, but I guess it stemmed from, it was always the priest that had the relationship and we were just the followers. That's how I felt. But I guess knowing that once that I was able to have a relationship, that I had the right to have that relationship just as much. And that was really because of Byron and Lisa. Yeah,
but again, I'm thinking before that when you went out and with Serena, and then you would go and study and you were looking for other alternatives to be able to try and get closer to God. And that was going in, doing, I remember you going up to the Buddhist temple up at Sunnybank.
Yeah.
And
well, that probably opened my eyes more so. It made me closer knowing that I found something, but it still was not enough. So it opened my eyes to make me want more and make me want to know the truth more so. I mean, So it was a good thing for me that I had learnt something else that really brought me back to the Father. But he knew that all along, obviously. That's why he let me go,
That's right.
knowing that I would come back.
Yeah. So for me, and the journey in business was very. I thought, I was 10 foot tall and bulletproof. I had I believed that I had my grandfather there helping me, guide me through all of this journey. And he did. I thought it was him. And I followed, and I had faith in him, which in turn gave me the courage to be faithful to myself, and to also understand to share the business world with my skill set. And I could see that that many people out there in the industry, in businesses, they have a different mindset where it's all about the money. But I was guided more in a direction of it was more sharing and being able to give the quality of life that I was experiencing to others as well. So by setting up this investment group that I did when we came up here onto the Gold Coast, there was a lot of people that had no idea how to operate as to try and reduce their mortgage on their home a lot faster. I had that ability because I was taught that back down in Sydney. So it gave me a real raw taste of what people's journeys were like. And every person that I was meeting, I was always finding they all had their own issues, their own disbeliefs. So once I was able to provide them the facts of the business side of it, they had faith in themselves to be able to follow through there as well. So and it wasn't until I met up with Byron and Lisa Hamilton through the Caris Bible College, and I was introduced to them, it's got to be seven odd years ago, Annette? 7, 8 years?
No.
Five. They were here for
about
5, 6
years.
Yeah,
5, 6 years
5,
ago.
6 years ago.
Through
Chris Maynard, and he's the pastor for the Mount Tambourine Church here on the Gold Coast. And he and we did a lot of business together in the past. And he referred me to Byron and Lisa because they needed some advice and guidance as well. So that particular day, we went right through all of the details and everything like this. And I happened to ask him the question, Byron, what does a Bible college do? I didn't quite understand how all this sort of thing worked. And so he started to explain it to us in layman terms, in simple language, without it being blown out of all proportions. And where, as a business person, we're always too busy to stop for a moment, hold our breath, and then realise that we've got God there with us. So I was pretty oblivious at that time, but he seemed to explain it to me in bite-sized pieces. And when he did, at the end, he says, well, we're going home now. And he said, and I said, oh, where are you off to tonight? Because we wanted to invite them over for dinner. And they said, oh, we're going to a church, a tent church up on the peninsula here on the Gold Coast. And I thought, And I said, could I actually look at I would love to be able to see, to know more. And he said, would you like to come? And I said, yeah, I'd love to come. He said, well, what about your wife? And I said, I'll give her a call, or I'll go back home and see if she wants to come, and then I'll let you know. That night we went there with this Bible tent church, and he did warn us. He said it was full of a lot of larrikins and bikies and all of that were all there. And we pulled up, and I never forgot. I can see a line of motorbikes out there. You could hear somebody rambling on, big voice inside. And this tent church was the size of a circus tent, so it had a lot of people in there. And we walked in a little bit intimidated, but then Byron came up and Lisa came up as well and showed us to where we were sitting. And we're looking out there, and I'm looking around and going, I don't feel safe here at all. And I can't just believe what I've got myself into. But then I started to listen to this guy. He was a big 6 foot tall as he was wide, and he had covered with tattoos and leather pants and belts and all the rest of it. And here he is, he's praising the Lord, and he's doing this, that, and the other. And I'm going, well, I'm not feeling real good about this. And I was more worried about Annette's handbag, thinking that somebody could just grab her handbag and run away with it. And then Byron said to me, he's pointing to some of the people over there that was within the congregation. And it got me to realise, and I thought, wow. He says, oh, that person there's just come out of jail. These girls over there, I could see them dancing to the music, and they're up next to the stage, and they're letting their hair down, and they're just like they've been set free. And I thought, yeah, whatever they've got, I've got to get some of that. And it just blew me out. And so yeah, so that's where that started. And then we were invited to come to the front, remember? Yeah. And,
they asked for prayer,
yeah.
when they asked who wanted prayers,
Yeah.
and we did, and it was just an amazing.
It was, that to me was...
we felt we got something there and then.
Very, very much so.
Yeah.
It was something like just went straight through. Well, for me it did anyway. I don't know about for yourself, but for me it was like an electric current going straight through, and I'd lost my balance and then I collapsed. And I've never done anything like that in my life before. And I'm going, whoa. And that was the same. She didn't feel real good. And I got up and I dust myself off like I'm a bit embarrassed. And Byron and Lisa were there, and there was a smile from ear to ear. And I knew then something was happening. Yeah. Hard to put in words. But something was happening. So, yeah. So I went after that. We went to church up at Mount Tambourine with Chris Maynard, and we're telling him of the experience that we're having. And so he turned around and said, yep, you've been touched.
But he had been trying to get us there for 20 years.
Yes. But I was always too busy. So I really owe a debt of gratitude.
He promised us a book.
That's right. Yeah, 20 years ago, he says, one day, John, I owe you a book. And
so he bought us our first Bible.
Yeah, so I said, I took it up with him. I said, oh, remember, you made a promise to me about getting me a book, remember? And he says, you're right. So he bought us both a Bible each. Yeah. So we treasure that even to this day. So, yeah, so that's our story.
Well, that's the beginning
of it, yes.
Yeah. So then we had Byron and Lisa come over, and we were sitting down, and she talked about what our beliefs were. And then I was honest to share with her that I had been studying Buddhism and that I had become a Buddhist, and she asked why, and and I was quite honest to say because I never had a relationship with Jesus and I didn't know how to. And she then said to me, if I showed you, would you want to? And I was, wow, totally beside myself. And so Jaden was there too that day, and they prayed for us. I can remember clearly with their kids. So the 5 of them were there.
That's right, yeah.
And they came and they prayed for us. And man, when they went, we were blown away again. We just knew where we belonged, and we just knew that we had come home then, that we were
feeling a lot more comfortable.
Yes, there again, our situation in life changed financially, and even with one of our children who we never had baptized, but he decided that he wanted to have the baptism that, that as a young adult that he chose to do. So to me, then I just knew that Jesus had him. Yeah. And that he was just a beautiful person that just wanted to have what we got. Yeah, yeah. So that was...
It changed his whole attitude too, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, yeah.
Focus on life was very, very different after that.
And we're really proud of him as well. Like, absolutely. I mean, he's on a good journey now, so which is really good. But also too, I think for us, it made our changes has been like with your health, right? So, that's been a big change the last few months as well. And I guess, you can carry that on then, yeah.
Well, my journey is, our journey, so my journey with that difference is on my health. I've never been an ill person, never ever went into a hospital in my life before. I wouldn't accept it, to visit other people, but never actually physically gone in there except when I was a young kid getting my appendix out. But I think the pressure of the business side of things were really getting to a stage where we'd invested a lot of time, a lot of money and a lot of effort, and I was doing a lot of travel overseas to Asia. And then coming back, and it just wasn't clicking. And those guys that are in business, you know what I mean. It's frustrating. You have your sleepless nights. You do a lot of hard yards and everything like that. And I think the health kicked in, my health condition kicked in, where I was doing the graveyard shift of doing the 24 hours no sleep and trying to get the work done to try and catch up and salvage what was collapsing around me at the time during the GFC. So that all of a sudden then started to bring, mentally, it's straining. But then when we met Lisa and Byron, and giving ourselves to the Lord, my vision then was all of a sudden very clear and clear vision to what direction I had to go. And I believe then those benefits were opening the doors for us, and I was starting to feel a lot better for it. But then, I'd get back off on a tangent again, looking at ways in how I could rescue and salvage what I already had. But really, God never had that in his plans for me. He said, no, John, you're not listening to me. Give me a zap. And all of a sudden I had this massive headache, and I rushed off to hospital, and I had a vein behind my eyeball. The artery had popped. So, and they couldn't operate, or they couldn't do anything with it. So I had to be on a very strong medication, and I was in there for 2 weeks. And that sort of freaked me out a lot, because I've never been in a hospital before. And I was starting to do a lot of praying, and then listening to Pastor Kyle on video. What I would do then, the simple thing was, I'd be sitting there on the Sunday and I'd be watching it on my phone. The nurses would be all coming in and going, oh, what's so important, John? I said, oh, you want to listen to this? And then some of my visitors would come in as well. And all of a sudden, some of the visitors and that were all sitting there watching from my phone and listening to Pastor Kyle. And all of a sudden I'm looking at that and I go, wow, this is so beautiful, because doctors and a few nurses and some guests that would come in to see me, and I'm holding that in my hand and listening to what Pastor Kyle was saying. And then, of course, I had to try at the end when Pastor Kyle said, right, it'll be for contributions and everything. So I actually got my cereal bowl and I handed it around to everybody to get a contribution. So it was a bit of comedy involved with that. But my health then started to improve. And then I had a second bout of that back at Christmas time. But my business was starting to fire up. So I basically set up the office in the hospital. And the hospital was so good. And a lot of people from the church was calling in to see us as well, and praying over my healing. And I looked at it and I thought, well, I don't have a problem. I don't own this. So I'm going to pray over it myself. And the doctors kept on saying, John, we don't know what's wrong with you, but your headaches are gone now, but you've still got these issues. They've tested me for everything and everything. And so naturally now, the only way that I could look at it now is thinking, well, God had his hand on me for that, for sure, because I was already healed. And the doctors are scratching their head and they said, well, we can't find it, we can't fix it, we don't know any remedies. So they gave me, I was in there for another week, I think, wasn't it, babe? Yeah, about another week. And then they let me out, but then I wasn't allowed to drive for 100 days. So I was trapped at home. So what we're doing with the coronavirus now, it's nothing, because I'm so used to staying at home because I couldn't drive anyway. But I think the Lord was guiding me. And from that time I got out of hospital.
And your specialist was a Christian.
And, oh yes, that was funny. The neurosurgeon. Neurologist, yeah. The neurologist, and of course, Annette had to come in and listen for herself that I wasn't telling any furphy stories. And so cut out all the sugar and cut out alcohol altogether. I mean, it would be like if I have a glass of wine over a dinner, but that was gone as well, so that didn't faze me. But at the end, he says, what was the word he said?
He asked me how I was handling what was happening to you.
Right.
And
Yes.
I said to him that I meditate a lot, and he goes, oh, you meditate? And I said, yes. And he goes, what do you meditate on? And I said, well, I meditate on the Lord. So it's on his words. And he goes, so are you a Christian? And I said, yes. And he went,
yeah, that's right.
yeah.
High five.
So there again, God was looking after you, because you had a really good neurologist there
Absolutely.
that knew and understood, and even said, God will get you through that, John.
Yes.
That was his last word.
Yeah, he did say that.
Yeah.
So so that's my journey on the business side of things, and I know we all go through these tough times in business, and we've just got to strive above it. And if we listen, and I refuse to listen to any negativity from anybody, I'll just say, look, talk to the hand because the ears aren't hearing it. I don't need negativity in my life. I need people around me that are positive, and I love motivating people to be positive. So we're all in the same direction. So, and the opportunities now for my business now have just fired up at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And I've got the whole world is now looking at where we're going with this because it's a whole new innovative concept that we've been putting together. So, and I praise the Lord for that because nobody else could have been so special in the way He planned it. Nobody could plan the circumstances. All of these people would call it good luck, the things that were happening. No, He had it already planned. He's dropping the breadcrumbs and I'm going along and I'm just picking them up and being guided by Him and listening to what He's saying and listening to what He's not saying as well. I get that feeling more so now than I ever did before. So, I think now more than ever, I'll do a nice little prayer more in the morning, first thing in the morning where I know it's in complete silence and my body's at complete rest. And I know He's hearing what I'm saying. I haven't actually heard a voice coming down and say, John, you got to do this and you got to do that. But I have the sensation or the feeling that He's been guiding me in the right direction. But other people, like for you, baby, you were telling us,
Well, only a couple of weeks ago when I was in the kitchen baking, So for me, I've basically, whenever that Jesus has spoken to me, it's always been while I've been in the kitchen baking. And the last one was tell your story, and that's when I did my little Facebook stint about where I'd been and, my mum, I was her worst wild child and, but...
and what's happening now with your mum and yourself? Your relationship has just got so much closer now, hasn't it?
I speak to my mum every day and, we pray together every day as well too, which has just been absolutely awesome.
How old's your mum now?
She'll be 90 in September.
There you go.
Yeah.
And it's only just been a short period of time you've built up such a great, strong relationship with her now.
That's it, because I was always too busy or working or whatever. So, it's just been amazing that knowing that what got us through all this was our faith in Jesus, really. That's what got us through all this. I mean, anything else, you can say it's been luck or whatever, but no. I know it's the relationship. And just also, too, we have, great mentors around us.
Surrounded
and, we are surrounded like people like Amy and Joe, Pastor Carl and Tina, Lynn and Bill, Heather and Peter. I mean, they're Kerry and Neil, they're all the people, there's many more, but, the ones that I can think of right now. These people have been there for us and we're just learning so much. And we're still babies, we're still learning.
Still got the L plates on.
Yeah.
Is that the right one? Yes, it is. We're definitely babes and we're like sponges trying to absorb a lot of this. And I'm not one for reading a lot, and my Bible is still pretty new, even though I've had it for a couple of years, and the onion paper is still in order. But I found great satisfaction in watching some of the movies, the BC series that was through Netflix, I think it was, and I learned so much from that because I'm more a visual person rather than a scripted person, and I learned so much of that, and so I've been going back to Peter and Heather and asking them questions. I didn't know that this happened and that happened and so on and so forth. So they gave me a better, clearer picture of how that all works. So yes, my mind, both our minds are still like sponges at the moment. And going to the DE classes has been absolutely superb for us because that gives us a really good background, and it's a solid background. And I think we were blessed when.
And I think that's probably the start of it is the DE classes, for anyone who really wants to reach out and they're not too sure which way that they are going. It's knowing it's okay, it's okay to make mistakes. It's all right to admit to not knowing. It's all right to follow people and just surround yourself with good backing where, you've got a good DE class, you've got people there. And by talking to others, you do learn so much because every time we have a get together
Yeah.
with these people, we always come out with something incredible,
Oh, yeah.
you know, always learning something. And that's when you can start building that relationship with Jesus as well. It's through the words. I never understood what the Bible really was, to be quite honest with you. And I've been a Christian for many years. And it's only now through reading that Bible and having it broken down. And man, are we blessed even that, you know, there's the new version, which is, what's that version that you,
King
the
James.
Amplified? Yeah, I mean, I don't have the Amplified, but, you know, but I love it because it's the words that we understand. It's the English of the Bible that, you know, you get it. It's a language that we can understand. So for anybody who wants to do something and change where they're going, they know, you know, for the ones that I know that there's a few people out there that really probably are expecting something to happen. Let it happen. You know, put yourself out there. Go out and join up with a group. Go out and allow yourself to feel God, because you do feel him.
Yeah.
I've heard his voice. That to me was amazing, because let me tell you, when you hear his voice, it's not a sentence. It can just be a couple of words, but you just feel totally reborn again. You know then
Revitalised.
that
Yeah.
you're revitalized. So don't allow your circumstances to take you down. I mean, you know, because nothing lasts forever. So, you know, jump in there, go and do a class, you know, allow yourself to build that relationship, and you've got nothing to lose. You've got everything to gain. Yeah.
It's very true. That was really well said, Ned. It was better than scripted, isn't it?
Oh, but it came from the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess that's
What it's all
it's
about.
the excitement. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know that feeling. You just know
Yes,
it when you know
do.
it. Yeah.
And the other thing that I've noticed too, for me to be able to, or for Annette, for Annette, a little bit of a difference on that. But I think when I was saying that we need to be around positive, like-minded people, if you're not around those people that are not pretending to be wonderful, you know when they're genuine or if they're faking it. And I've learnt the difference on that now, and I'm like a sponge when I know it's genuine. But when people start talking about the downside of life and always worrying about what's going to happen tomorrow, oh, it's going to rain tomorrow, so my hair's going to go all frizzy, or I've just polished my car, so it's going to get all messy, and they're giving that negativity. And in my belief, I think God's saying, who cares if it rains? It's going to rain for a purpose. It's for a reason. Or if you miss that bus or you miss that train and you think, oh, curse, and you cuss and do all the rest of it to do that. But it's always for a reason. And that's what I've found out now, is that something has happened for a purpose. And how many times have we heard that story about even that plane that disappeared, or that plane that got shot down? There was an interview with people that were waiting and they just missed that plane, and it got shot down, and they were speechless. But then they said, it's got to be God that stopped us from doing it, because the traffic was busy and we missed our flight, and they were cursing on that. But now they're so relieved. So there's lessons that we've got to learn throughout life, and we're going to get a lot of obstacles. We know we're getting obstacles, but we've got to man up, chest out, stomach in, chin up, and soldier on regardless. And I think Anzac Day brought a lot of that to me too. When they were doing the interviews for the soldiers and what they've done, there was a program on Anzac Day that we sat down, and I just turned everything off just to watch this. And wow, what those guys had done throughout the war in the Kokoda Trail was nothing short of a miracle. 10 times the value of the enemy surrounding the Aussie soldiers and the New Zealand soldiers, the Anzacs, 10-to-1 ratio. They had not a chance in hell to be able to get through that.
But we know who brought him through.
Exactly. And he did. And they powered through. Where they 10-to-1 ratio, all headed for the hills and run away from it all, because the Australians and the New Zealand's Anzacs had faith. They had faith in the belief that they could do it, regardless of the terrain, regardless of the enemy, and regardless of everything else. And I believe you've got to have faith in yourself and your heart first. Believe in what God is saying, what he's doing, and the way he's going to guide you. So it's not going to all be perfect all the way through. Cop it on the chin a few times. We just dust it off and get back up again. Yeah, so this is our story, and we hope that you enjoyed our level of commitment that we've explained to everybody today.
And yeah, we just, I think I better make it really quick because John could be here for another half hour anyway.
Okay.
But, you know, we do miss everyone. And I just want to say, we think of you all and we do pray for everyone, that all the blessings of life and health and prosperity to all of our church family, and we can't wait to get back together and give hugs to everybody.
Yeah.
Thanks again.
And
Take care. See ya.
Bye for now.
We see